If you've ever felt like you were being watched, dismissed, or quietly shut out, not because you failed, but because you thought differently, you're not imagining it. The truth is, your IQ was never the problem. It was the warning. Not because the number was too high, but because it signaled something more disruptive: clarity, critical thinking, and the refusal to conform. Intelligence that questions, that analyzes without bias, that refuses to follow the script. That kind of mind doesn't go unnoticed. And if you're watching this, it's not by accident. You were never underestimated because you lacked value. You were flagged because you saw too much, too clearly. Before we go deeper into this message, take a second to hit the like button. Subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers, and leave a message in the comments about what they never told you about your intelligence. What you write might be the reminder someone else needs to read. And what's coming next might be the confirmation you've been waiting for. The world never hated your intelligence simply because you were smart. They feared the impact your mind could create, the way your thoughts could ripple through systems like a stone skipping across a still lake. Intelligence in itself is harmless, but intelligence paired with vision and courage, that's a spark powerful enough to set entire structures ablaze. They weren't scared of your grades or your knowledge. They were terrified of the change you could ignite. When you dared to think beyond their rules, their protocols, their boxed-in norms, you became a living threat. Think about it. History's greatest disruptors, the inventors, the revolutionaries, the thinkers, weren't feared for their IQ scores. They were feared because they imagined a world that others refused to see, and they acted on those visions. That's why institutions don't celebrate genius. They fear it, because genius breaks molds, shatters control, and opens doors that were never meant to be opened. Your intelligence was never just a number. It was a calling card for disruption. When you refused to conform, to sit quietly, or to swallow their rules, you sent a message louder than words. You showed that intelligence is not meant to be contained. It's meant to be unleashed. That's what scared them most. Your potential was a wildfire waiting to burn down the walls built to keep you small. It's easy to say the system is broken, as if it's just a malfunction or a mistake, but that's the lie they want you to believe. The truth? The system works exactly as intended. It's a machine meticulously engineered to keep certain people down, to funnel potential into predictable channels, and to punish those who dare to stand outside the lines. When you keep asking, "Why me?" or "Why does this happen to us?" remember, it's not a glitch. It's a design. Look around. The educational system often rewards conformity over creativity. The corporate world prizes obedience over innovation. Society praises fitting in rather than standing out. The system isn't failing, it's succeeding at silencing your voice, dimming your light, and bending you into a shape that's easier to manage. This isn't accident or unfairness, it's control. Understanding this is your first step toward freedom. When you realize the system isn't broken but built to break you, you stop blaming yourself for failures that were never yours to bear. You begin to see your setbacks as resistance, your pain as a signal that you're pushing boundaries too big for their comfort. And that realization fuels the fire to rise, to fight, and to rewrite the rules. If you've ever felt alone in your intelligence, like you're the only one seeing what others don't, know that you're not mistaken. That isolation isn't random, it's engineered. People who think deeply, who question everything, who refuse to accept surface-level answers, often find themselves sidelined, misunderstood, or even ostracized. Why? Because sharp minds threaten complacency and comfort. Isolation is a tool used by those in power to fracture communities of resistance. When they isolate the thinker, the visionary, or the rebel, they rob movements of their strength and stop revolutions before they begin. It's easier to break a lone voice than a chorus shouting for change. This loneliness can be brutal, often mistaken as a sign of failure or personal defect. But the truth is, it's a badge of honor, proof that you see things others don't, that you're unwilling to settle for mediocrity. Remember, many of the world's greatest minds, Van Gogh, Nikola Tesla, Maya Angelou, felt profoundly isolated because their intelligence placed them outside the ordinary. That solitude wasn't a punishment. It was the price of brilliance. And if you feel alone, it means you're on the right path, standing at the edge of new possibilities where most won't dare to tread. Powerful systems know that the easiest way to control someone with fire in their soul is to repeatedly snuff it out with setbacks. Think about how many brilliant minds have been pushed down by sudden, inexplicable failures. Not because they lacked talent or grit, but because the forces around them wanted to neutralize the threat they posed. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's a reality echoed throughout history. From innovators crushed by corporations to activists silenced by governments, setbacks serve as shackles disguised as coincidences. But here's the key. Understanding this gives you power. Your setbacks were never proof you're weak. They're proof you're dangerous. The fact that you survived means you were never truly broken. You were the wild card they couldn't control. And every failure was just another reminder of the system's fear of your unstoppable rise. The world doesn't just want you to fail. It needs you broken. Broken minds are easier to manipulate. Broken spirits, easier to silence. And broken voices, easier to ignore. When you're broken, you become predictable, manageable, and ultimately invisible. This is why every institution, every system, every power structure invests so much energy in keeping you down. It's a brutal truth. Your rise threatens the very foundation of their control. But here's the revolution. Refusing to stay down is the act of defiance that shakes the earth. Each time you get back up, each time you reclaim your voice, You rewrite what's possible, not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. You become the symbol of hope, the spark that ignites change in others who were told to be silent. Your refusal to be broken is a direct challenge to the narrative designed to keep you small. It's the loudest, most powerful protest because it says, "You cannot contain me. I am rising, and I am unstoppable." That is the revolution the world desperately needs right now. Thinking for yourself is the most radical act you can perform in a world addicted to conformity. When you break free from the herd, question the rules, and forge your own path, you become unapologetically dangerous. This danger isn't about violence or chaos. It's about authenticity and courage. It's about refusing to be a puppet in a show where the strings are pulled by those who want you to stay small. The power of independent thought lies in its unpredictability. Systems rely on control and predictability to function smoothly. When you think for yourself, you disrupt that order. You challenge narratives, expose hypocrisies, and push boundaries. And that's why you're met with resistance, suspicion, even fear. But remember, danger to the system means power for you. The moment you start trusting your voice over the noise is the moment you step into a force no one can ignore. Embrace that danger. Be unapologetic in your truth, because the world needs more people who dare to think, speak, and live freely. Predictability is the foundation of control. When you act according to their scripts, following societal norms, playing by their rules, you become easy to manage. But when you deviate, when your choices become erratic, unexpected, and uncontainable, the system reacts with panic. They can't break what they can't predict, and so their response is destruction. History is littered with stories of those who were destroyed because they refused to be predictable. Artists who challenged culture, activists who defied authority, thinkers who questioned power. They weren't tolerated. They were broken, erased, silenced. Because the system knows that unpredictability is freedom, and freedom is the enemy. This isn't just theory. It's personal. The obstacles, betrayals, and heartbreaks you've endured, they are the result of a system desperate to erase your unpredictability. But destruction is not the end. It's a crucible that forges your resilience and sharpens your edge. When those closest to you turn their backs or stab you in the back, it's easy to take it personally, to feel abandoned and broken. But betrayal, especially when it feels systematic and recurring, is rarely personal. It's strategic. It's part of a broader effort to suppress the threat you represent. Think about it. People who feel powerless often become tools of the very system that controls them, enforcing rules and norms that silence others. Betrayal can be weaponized to isolate, to confuse, and to slow your rise. It's a tactic used to break trust, weaken alliances, and stop movements before they grow too powerful. Understanding betrayal as a strategic move rather than a personal attack, frees you. It helps you see the bigger picture, protecting your heart while sharpening your resolve. It reminds you that the fight is not just against individuals, but against a system desperate to keep you contained. Seeking validation is a natural desire, but when you base your worth on others' approval, you give them power over your soul. Validation can be fleeting, fragile, and conditional. What you really need isn't permission to exist or succeed. It's the fierce, burning drive to prove, through your actions and victories, that you are unstoppable. Vengeance here is not about petty revenge or bitterness. It's about reclaiming your power by rising beyond the limits they set for you. It's the quiet, relentless determination to win, to break free from every chain, and to show the world that you were never the failure they wanted you to be. Your victories will be the ultimate form of justice, the loudest statement that you were meant for greatness. Let your success be the revenge that silences doubts, betrayers, and systems alike. Sometimes people mistake your rise for revenge, but the truth runs deeper. You aren't climbing back just to get even. You're rising because your survival, your sanity, and your future depend on it. You're reclaiming your power not out of anger, but out of necessity. The world isn't a safe place for those who think differently, who refuse to submit, who dare to dream beyond boundaries. Your rise is a declaration of self-preservation, a refusal to be crushed under the weight of systemic oppression and personal betrayal. When you stand tall again, it's not about paying back those who hurt you. It's about creating a new path where you thrive on your own terms. That's why your rise is inevitable, unstoppable, and deeply needed. For years, you were underestimated, ignored, dismissed, treated as if you were invisible or insignificant. But beneath that surface, your potential was growing, silent, fierce, and unstoppable. The moment you stepped into your power, you transformed into the threat they always feared but pretended never existed. They tried to box you in with labels, expectations, and limitations. But you shattered those walls with every bold choice, every relentless effort, and every refusal to settle. Suddenly, you became the question they couldn't answer, the force they couldn't predict, and the storm they couldn't weather. This transformation terrifies them because it exposes their own fragility. You were never the failure. You were always the revolution waiting to happen. There's a moment, a flash of fear, disbelief, and panic in the eyes of those who tried to keep you down. It's the instant they realize you're not broken, not defeated, but back and stronger than ever. That fear is a testament to your power and resilience. This moment is more than symbolic. It's a shift in the balance of power. It tells them their control is slipping, their plans unraveling, and their predictions failing. That's why they fear your comeback. It means the impossible has happened. Hold on to that moment. It's proof you belong in the arena of change makers. Their fear is your victory, and your return is the beginning of a new era. The world's rules were never made for you. They were built to maintain the status quo, protect the privileged, and stifle disruptors. Playing by their rules means accepting limits on your potential and silencing the parts of you that crave freedom. But you weren't created to follow. You were built to break the game, to rewrite the rules, and to create new paths where none existed before. Your very existence challenges the old ways and inspires others to question the system. Breaking the game requires courage, creativity, and an unyielding spirit. It's the ultimate act of rebellion and the only way true change ever happens. Pain and betrayal can trap you in a cycle of confusion and self-doubt. But what if you flipped the script? Instead of asking why you were hurt, start asking why you frightened them. Why did your mind, your spirit, your potential make them desperate enough to try to break you? That question holds power. It reveals the truth about who you are, a force too wild, too bright, too unpredictable to be tamed. It uncovers the fear you awaken in others simply by existing on your own terms. This shift in perspective transforms pain into power. It reminds you that the reason you were targeted is because you were always dangerous enough to change the world. They wanted your silence, quiet compliance, invisible presence, muted voice. But silence isn't your nature. Your words, your ideas, your truths have become tremors shaking the ground beneath their feet. You no longer whisper, you roar. You no longer tiptoe, you stomp. Speaking in earthquakes means your voice commands attention. It dismantles lies, exposes corruption, and inspires others to rise. It's the sound of unstoppable change, the echo of generations who refuse to be silenced. Remember, your voice is your power. The louder you speak, the more the world listens, and the more the old systems crumble. Doubt is a weapon wielded by those who feel threatened by your potential. When others question your vision, your ability, or your worth, they're not measuring your value. They're projecting their fears. Their doubt is less about you and more about their own insecurity. It's an attempt to control the narrative before you even have a chance to rewrite it. You've probably felt that sting the moment someone dismisses your dreams or scoffs at your ambition. But that doubt isn't a reflection of your reality. Instead, it's a shadow cast by those who have never dared to walk your path. Understanding this empowers you to separate their fear from your truth. Every breakthrough, every invention, every movement started with a doubted individual who refused to let others define their limits. When you feel doubt aimed your way, remind yourself, doubt reveals what others can't yet see, the fire inside you waiting to explode. Your journey isn't about proving them right or wrong. It's about proving yourself unstoppable. Let doubt Be the fuel, not the chain. Each time they doubt you, use it to sharpen your focus, deepen your resolve, and move forward with greater determination. Their doubt is fleeting. Your legacy is permanent. Expectations are invisible shackles that bind more tightly than physical chains ever could. From the moment we're born, society loads us with a script of who we should be, what success looks like, and how we must behave. These invisible weights often feel like burdens we carry silently, forcing us to play roles that don't fit our true selves. Breaking free from expectations isn't simple. It requires tearing down years of conditioning, reclaiming the parts of you buried beneath shoulds and musts. It demands courage to say no to the life others planned for you, and yes, to the life that calls you forward. It's a lonely journey because many around you cling to those expectations, sometimes